Meta fighters cost a lot of rubber because of the self-sealing fuel tanks, or at least they do at first glance, but there is a great way of reducing rubber and aluminium cost for both light and heavy fighters by a huge amount, and that's what this week's Monday guide will explore. So, how do you do this? You see the two setups to the left. We have one setup up here with 37 factories and one setup down here. And you see here the rubber cost, 111 rubber to build it like in the ordinary style, and I paid 29 rubber to do it with conversion techs. And even aluminium, you have a cost reduction of 40 aluminium just by setting it up like this. The only thing that you have to do, you have to pay some extra cost, but that's very, very little. If you see up here, yeah, we will get like 0.1 plane less per day, but the resources is extremely in your favor. So there's a lot to gain here, but you need to understand how you do it. And the first thing you need to have researched are the two conversion techs, because you're using conversion to make this work. And then you need the conversion techs, otherwise this would be way too expensive. So you need these two finished, but converting fighters, you want the 39 tech in the fighters anyway, so you don't want to convert anything before that. The next thing you need to do is set this one up, and you start here. You see the heavy fighter start. See if I can find it. Here you find it. It's as a basic fighter as you can build it, as cheap as you can build it. Of course, you don't want to change any modules later on, so you take the engine that you want, you take the weapons that you want, but as few of modules as you possibly can, so you have a cheap price building this, so you don't need to put in too much resources. The next step is adding everything except the self-sealing fuel tanks, and this is the step 2 fighter. The step 2 fighter has everything I want except the self-sealing fuel tanks, and the reason I want to build these in 2 different steps is that I want to build the self-sealing fuel tanks as fast as possible. So here, this one cost 81, and the first step cost 61. So I have 20 IC that I need to build here. And as you see, to push out 2.81 from the first conversion cost me 9 factories. And the last conversion, putting on the self-sealing fuel tanks, just cost 1 factory. And that's why I get so much reduction in rubber cost. So the last one is just a finished one. I put on the self-sealing fuel tank, so the conversion is extremely cheap. So this one just costs 2.5. So when I convert this, it goes extremely quick. I need few factories and I get a lot less resources needed. And the last thing we need to do is pushing the conversion buttons. So I start building the heavy fighter start. I see here that I can convert it, so I need to press the conversion button. An order of conversion is that they start with a heavy fighter start when they want to convert. So I start converting that one and do the same thing with the last setup. And you have to look to the order of conversion, so they actually convert the heavy fighter step 2. And one important thing here is to make both of these obsolete, so it understands what should be converted. So that's what you do. And then you have the setup for the heavy fighters. Building them in 3 steps are really good. So you pay extremely reduced price in rubber, and this is amazing for like Germany, not having to build all these extremely expensive like synthetic refineries or stuff, or try gaining rubber from anywhere else. Yeah, you don't need to pay rubber if you do it like this. And before we get into light fighters, most of you guys are not yet subscribers, so please just consider pushing that subscribe button and we would be extremely happy. There's also some kind of alarm ring button bell. I don't know what it does, but I heard it's probably something good, so yeah, consider doing that too, and probably something great will happen. We also have the Patreon if you want even more for some mysterious reason of our guides. Yeah, consider being a Patreon. You can also be a free patron, just supporting the community, all of us guys, trying to bring you some great HOI4 content. And yeah, I won't drag on. Light Fighter it is. Yeah, let's look at the light fighters, and I want to show you the conversion of it, and also one of the best conversions you can do in the entire game, and that's converting 1936 tech fighters up to 1939 tech, adding self-sealing fuel tanks to them, making them extremely better, as I showed you in one of my previous guides. So the setup is like this: 10 factories. We have we're building cheap fighters and converting them to finished fighters up here. Cost us 10 rubber and 21 aluminium. Doing the same with 10 factories down here cost us double the amount of rubber. So 20 rubber instead of 10, and 30 aluminium instead of 21. We build approximately the same amount, 161 down here. This would push out 157. So yeah, a little bit worse, but yeah, doesn't even matter. You get way better fighters. So what I did, pretending it's 1936, building cheap fighters like this. The same engine as we want. We don't have the weapons we want yet, so the cheapest weapon possible, just pushing them out, and then converting them to the 1939 tech with the self-sealing fuel tanks, which will give you more air defense, which is so important at these lower numbers. And I didn't build them in 2 steps because the cost for each of these modules aren't that big. They would cost 7 to put on. You could do it. I think you will save a little bit more, of course, but I wouldn't say it's worth it really to bother. But especially if you play like multiplayer and have a lot to do, it wouldn't be worth it. If you play single player and you want to have fun with the conversions, be my guest, you will save more resources with it. And of course, the better tech you get, the more slots you get on the fighters, and it would be more viable to actually build them in 3 steps. 1 to build the chassis, 1 to add all modules except the self-sealing fuel tanks, and just putting on the self-sealing fuel tanks in the end. Yeah, something I just can say I checked out is trying to put on misclick. Put on those strategic, what do you call it? Non-strategic material uses, which reduces aluminium even more. The thing is that it costs a lot to take this one away, to dismantle this one. I think Paradox actually saw this coming and has blocked it. So trying to convert with non-strategic material uses to not pay the aluminium cost, I didn't find with the light fighters any good way to actually do that. But there might be. I haven't tested on every plane type. But for light fighters, I tried it out and couldn't find any really good use. But yeah, this is the setup for the light fighters. And it will reduce the rubber cost by a lot. And even the aluminium cost will do a huge amount for your economy. You being able to use your civilian for something else than trading away every civilian factory you have because you want more rubber. Yeah, I think I did it. I made a guide under 10 minutes again. That's our absolute aim, to make these guides as on point as possible for you guys. And making them under 10 minutes is, yeah, I really love being able to do that. Mostly because myself, I don't have the attention span to actually look at longer guides. If I see a guide for 20-40 minutes, they might be amazing, but I can't watch them. So for me personally, I really love being able to make these as short as possible, giving you great information, great ways to play the game, without you having to sit here looking at me for too many minutes. Every minute looking at me is probably 1 minute too much. But with that said, I'm stoked that you're actually following us. We're going up towards 4,000 subscribers. That in itself is amazing. I'm looking forward to the next game. So yeah, with that said, see you guys next time.